Hey, let's do a tour of the notebooks in Copilot. Quite confusing with OneNote, but there's a new feature called Notebooks here in Copilot. And so let's try to understand what it is for. So basically, from what I understand, I'm still exploring it. It's a central place where you can gather information, and instead of having to reference over and over the same documents or sources, you centralize them in a notebook, and you can, every time you prompt, you're gonna reuse this content. But there's some limitations. I don't know if they're gonna change, and so let's try to explore that. So first, you have access to notebooks here. Then you can see all and favorite. So that means you can, when you have a lot of notebooks, you can favorite them by clicking here, and then you will see them in the favorite. So you can, there's tips here that can help you to better understand what it is about. But let's try to create a new notebook from here or here. So let's do here. So I'm gonna say I want to do several prompts on different documents that I have access to. So I name it Copilot Knowledge Notebook, and I can select documents here that I recently opened, or I can search them, or I can navigate and find them. So let's try to navigate. I don't remember, this is a demo environment, so I don't remember where my files are. Let's see if I can find them quickly. I think I must have something in the general channel somewhere. Okay, here. So let's see if I can select multiple files here. Okay, let's say I selected all those files. Let's see if I can do that. And sure enough, it was able to add all of them here. And I could, navigate, browse. I don't know if I can upload a file on the fly. It doesn't seem to have a upload file. But as you can see, I can select different files. Here I selected PDF and Word document mainly. Maybe I should add a PowerPoint. Let's try to find a PowerPoint somewhere. I'm gonna take randomly this one. I just want to show you something. So when you finished, it's gonna create the references, so you don't have to prompt anymore referencing your files. Apparently, I didn't test what is the limit, but I can add a lot of files. I don't know if it's gonna use them all. We will need to find out. I can, as you can see, it sort the files by type. Unfortunately, the PDF type is not showing, but I can, at least from Office files, I can sort them. That's why I created this PowerPoint. I'm gonna delete it because I don't know what's in this document, but here I have documents about Copilot, and now I can ask questions here about the content. I'll come back to that. But also, as you can see, it's you need to find it, but you can add instructions. So please give the result in an empathic and actionable way. And I just want to be sure that the instruction is going to be used, so I'm going to say add an inspiring quote at the end of the result. So you can also specify, for example, your style, the tone, whatever you want to specify, and you don't have to type it every time. So you can give instructions, you can give content. The other thing that is interesting here, I'm going to launch it, is you can ask Copilot to generate an audio overview of all your documents. Um, I didn't test if there's a limit in terms of number of documents. Of course, your documents need to be related in some, you know, I guess I don't know how it's going to make sense of all those documents, but it's going to try. And there's some limitations here, from what I understand. Is first, I don't know where this audio file is created. Previously, I could find it in the OneDrive. When I do that in OneDrive or SharePoint, I can find the recording in my OneDrive under the recording, but here apparently it stores somewhere in what we call SharePoint embedded, but I don't know how to access to the file, which is a little bit frustrating because maybe I want to share the audio with somebody. So as you can see, it looks at information to create the audio. Maybe I'm going to let it run and ask Copilot a question about that. So maybe I can say, write a LinkedIn post summarizing LinkedIn, all my content on Copilot with a storytelling approach so people get interested. And
hey there, welcome to today's overview on Microsoft 365 Copilot. It's really an exciting journey into how AI is reshaping our work.
Hi, welcome. Glad we're diving into this overview together.
So it was able to create the audio before I finished. You can skip, you can play, you can change, you can delete. So that's another thing to know. If you add more files or resources, then you can delete it and regenerate. By default, it's a podcast generation. You see how much time it takes, but I cannot. There's nothing else than um, share it or open it in OneDrive. I don't see where the file is, but I have an audio overview. I can speed it and I can skip some part and play it. So that's a nice thing. And you can, when it's generated, can play audio. And if you want to regenerate it, obviously
Hey there.
you want to delete it. And then if you add more files, you just regenerate. So let's try to do this post. Write a LinkedIn post summarizing all my content on Copilot with a storytelling approach. So people get interested and hooked up to the story. So let's generate that and let's see what comes out of it. So it switches to a chat window, a normal chat window. So the first thing you can notice, it's not going to leverage any agent here. It's leveraging the Copilot Business Chat. So now I have my story, but I don't have any reference to the document. So that's very frustrating. So I'm gonna force him, or try to force him, to give me the sources he used to create this content. So now I have some files: Copilot Code of Conduct, Copilot Business Value. I see he used some of my content, as you can see. So a thing to notice is the web content has been disabled doing that. So it's a little bit frustrating because first I didn't know it was not browsing internet. That's fine because I was asking to browse my content. Um, then it's only surfaced some of the documents. I'm not sure how it works. So let's go back here. And as you can see, I see pretty quickly my chat, my notebook, the files. So I can go back here and ask a new question. Let's go back to the chat. So now if I want to see the chat, I have a history of the chat. I can open, rename, delete if I find a good chat. So it's basically I have my conversation history here. So let's see if it ended with a quote. So he understood my instructions with an inspiring quote, and it obviously created a narrative of it. So it works with the instruction I gave, but there's some limitations, and I want to show you that you can add reference here. So you can upload the reference on the fly. If you click add reference, you go back and you can add more references here. But I think here adding a link with text and URL, it will be able to surface internet. So I thought, maybe a good notebook will be a service description. Or something else, maybe something that comes from internet and that change all the time. So here I'm not going to add anything in my tenant because I don't have anything. I wanted to connect it to internet. What's going on here? Sorry, we couldn't save your work. Well, funny. Okay. There's some, there have been some issue recently with Copilot. Unfortunately, it comes when I do my demonstration. Okay, so let's try to do a new one. It's stubborn, so I don't know what's going on. There's probably a bug. But what I wanted to show is that when you reference URL, internet URL, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I thought it was a little bit like Notebook LM from Google, where you can point at LinkedIn articles, add PDF, add a lot of things. So I think it's a first version to catch up on Notebook LM, integrated in Microsoft 365 Copilot. So it might come in the future, but the reference, you can reference a link to Microsoft 365 content, but if you're referencing a link to internal content, it doesn't surface it. Another thing that was surprising in one of my tests was that when I asked a question, it came back with email. So it's not just surfacing the document that you're referencing. I guess it's surfacing specifically those documents for sure, but it might include other content coming from Microsoft 365. So it's not like an agent where you say just focus on this content. So let's see. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna try, since I have your service description here, I'm gonna try to show you if it's a message error. And I'm gonna say summarize service description. So let's see. And here I have. It doesn't know that I'm surfacing the LinkedIn. The oh yeah, apparently it does. Let's see. No, it looks at my email. As you can see, exactly what I was saying. It looks at my email because he has access to my email, but it doesn't look at internet. Again, it's because the web content is grayed out. I cannot select it. So today, notebooks are not surfacing internet, which is too bad because I think it will be one of my use cases. And you can do that with a Copilot agent, but I thought maybe it will work in notebook, but it doesn't. What else can I tell you about here? Except there's this message coming back. Let's see, you navigate your notebook here. As you can see, you can favorite them and find all. Did I favorite them? I wanted to favorite. Something is not working, but so you can, in a notebook, you can also create pages, even if there's a messenger here. I'm not sure if it's just for creating content from scratch, or you see it adds the page. It's a little bit like if you were creating a OneNote notebook. You can enter content from scratch, and so then you can surface everything. So you don't have to use OneNote. I didn't see if you were able to add a OneNote link here. So maybe Microsoft wants us to start to switch to pages in terms of notebook in notebooks instead of OneNote notebooks. So that's probably the reason why you have page. And so you can use the content. So basically you add all your resources that you're working, for example, on a project. You probably want to add them here. The audio is a nice feature, but I don't think you're going to use it very often unless you want to know, hey, I'm joining to this new thing. But here, as you can see, I cannot share my notebook, so it's only for me. I guess it's going to come in the future where you can share all the content, but it's just your notebook. What is really cool is the instructions, because sometimes it's really painful to have to say all over and over when you're creating a new session in a chat, your tone, your style, etc. So here you just have to set it once in the Copilot instructions, and also gathering all the information you're working on that can be helpful. And there's several use cases where maybe if you write LinkedIn articles with the same style, if you want to reference some content that you have that can be useful for the LinkedIn articles in general, what is Copilot in general, the basic of Copilot in my case, or whatever it is, that can be a useful use case of notebooks. But in general, I will say, you're working on some projects and you want to make sense of the same set of documents over and over, so you add them here, and you can then chat around those documents. But know that it can also look at other resources. We saw that it was looking at my emails, and so it can introduce some confusion. It's not like Copilot agents. Hope this little tour with these little bugs was insightful.